Divergent a while ago when it was on sale for $2.99 on Nook, and I was gonna read it before the movie, then I was gonna read it when the hype died down, and that kind of is never going to really happen. And so I figured, since last week I saw Veronica Roth, that I would finally read the book because she is a magnificent human being with lots of awesome things to say, and I just wanted to go into it reading it a little bit more critically, a little bit more read between the lines, feminist perspective kind of stuff. Start off, I really liked this book. There were very few things that I didn't like. It was stuff like, I wish that there was stuff about the outside of Chicago, like what's going on out there. All they know is that there might be farms out there, but I think that's just because it's just to show that citizens are not aware because they're not allowed to be aware of what's outside the walls. So we have Tris, who is our main character, who is our not strong female character. She is very much weak and strong. She's very complex. Something that is a running theme within the novel is that people are very complex. They're very complex, and to try to fit them into however many factions there are, the pegs and that, no, it's not working. It's not working. And although Janine feels like that it should work, and that if you're not fitting into those holes, you should die, no, it's not working. And the fact that Tris never really fit into abnegation to begin with made it very much more logical and believable that she went from abnegation to Dauntless, and just in general switched factions to begin with. Tris was always that kid, and to this day still that person whose favorite question is why. As I said, she has her strengths and weaknesses, her strengths being her tactics and, you know, being selfless and being all these things that are super awesome. But then she also has her weaknesses where she kind of gets kind of whiny, and she's tiny, and she has to work a lot harder to get up to speed with everyone else in Dauntless. Let's be real, I would be whiny as well if I were running for Dauntless, and I was just being worn down to that point where it's like, okay, you're now Dauntless because you made it through all of that. And I thought it was very respectful that although she's, you know, moved factions, she still held some of the beliefs of her old faction because that's how she grew up. That's, you know, how her mindset is, and that is totally believable for her to, you know, still be a little bit of a stickler when it comes to certain things. Now, there's quite a bit of the eye choreography in this book with people looking at each other and looking at, you know, things and gaining the knowledge and gaining and wanting and needing and lusting and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that happens with looking in different theories and stuff like that, but I felt like her, for Tris, she's looking for knowledge and she's seeking that when she's looking at people, when she's looking at Four, when she's looking at this. And yes, she does develop some feelings towards Four, but to start off with, she's like, he's this mystery, and kind of like the government and whatever is going on there with the tests and, you know, people getting sorted, whatever, not sorted. This isn't Harry Potter, but she just kind of is like, there's something that I'm missing here. Let me go seek that. And, you know, she puts herself in some danger here and there, but for the most part, she's pretty freaking smart about it. There's a little bit of a patriarchal thing going on in the novel. It's not necessarily like the author's views, but just kind of like talking about the relationships between certain people. I'm not sure about the government being quite patriarchal. It was just kind of, I don't know, I don't feel like I totally understood it. I felt like it was more obvious in Peter and Tris's relationship, with him feeling very much threatened by her and her power, and him having to either demystify her or kill her, basically. And because he was just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna try to tear you down, and when that doesn't work, I'm gonna hang you over a ledge. And, you know, that doesn't work out so well for him, and rightly so. Rightly so. It should, I feel like that's a good message to send, is like, if you're going to be this kind of person, don't. No, you're gonna get beat in the face by Four. And that's another thing. That's another thing I want to talk about. Four is an amazing character. So amazing. I really like how he's written in this book. I haven't read the rest of the series, so I don't have anything to say for that yet, but for the fact that he is this instructor, he's a brilliant guy. He's this, like, character that you're like, I really don't know who he is, what's happening, what's this, what's that. And, you know, when he reveals more about himself, you're like, wow, he's just such a great instructor because he's able to pinpoint and to point out to people, hey, here's your strengths, hey, here's, you know, how you should be fighting, and here's how you could win this fight, because, you know, some of the transfers, they don't know what they're doing. You know, they're not going up against Dauntless-born, at least in the first stage of the tryouts and things, but, you know, like, he's just kind of like, hey, if you use your elbows or this, that, and the other. But the awesome thing is that no one's going to him for affirmation. That's what it is. Like, Triss, like, even though he's like, hey, here's some of your strengths, and every time she's like, well, I think my, you know, selflessness, or no, not that. It was like, you know, she was like, oh, well, this, and this, you know, here are my weaknesses, and he's like, well, I think your selflessness is your strength, which is kind of a crazy thing to think about because you're like, well, you're kind of giving somebody else your strength, not in a negative manner, but just kind of being like, okay, I'm going to, you know, serve you in order to lift you up and things like that, and that takes a lot. It takes a lot. Also, oh my gosh, how do you even go through a Divergent review without even mentioning the fact that, you know, the Divergent, they are very countercultural. They're very like, we are looking for knowledge, we are looking for, you know, and we are not, you know, suppressed by the, you know, the tests and things like that for factions and stuff like that. They're able to pick their own factions, and so I thought that that was really an interesting idea, but also it sucked that the fact that their only option, because the government couldn't figure out what they freaking are, they end up getting killed a lot of the time. That's just not right. So there's my review of Divergent by Veronica Roth. I hope you guys have a great day and keep reading.